We are live. All right. We'll start in a few moments, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to How to Build World-Class Products with MonkeDAO. So, Moon Settler will start and kick us off with our second workshop of the hackathon series, Building World-Class Products with Build with MonkeDAO and Superteam Canada. Moon Settler is a Superteam member, and he'll share a little bit more about his background. I'm Fibonacci. I lead partnerships and BD for Superteam Canada, and our captain / lead, Super Simon, is also here. Hey, Simon.
GM, hello everybody. Happy Wednesday.
Happy Wednesday. So I'll just hand it over to Moon to kick us off, and then Moon, when you're done, I will jump in and go through a few of the resources for hackathon teams. Moon, go for it.
Awesome. All right. Hopefully everybody can hear me all right. GM, everyone. So thank you for joining here today. Thanks for having me. We'll start off a little bit of background on myself and kind of how I got here, some of the background that I have around building products to kind of set the foundation, set the framework from the direction and the point of view that I'm coming from. So currently I'm a MonkeDAO exec, Superteam Canada member. Currently working on the Build with MonkeDAO program as an executive at MonkeDAO. Before my time in Web3, I specifically worked in product. I did a lot of product consulting, product strategy, and led multiple different product teams across a variation of team sizes around the world, everything from working on products for Fortune 500 companies down to small startups with just 5 or 6 people. So a little bit of a different point of view depending on which area or which category within that you work in. But throughout my time, I've learned a lot about building products and have built all sorts of stuff, everything within obviously the digital and tech space. So that's a little bit of a background on me. And today what I want to do is actually walk you all through just some of the things that I've learned throughout my journey, things that I look out for and how I structure thinking about building good products and building the teams around the products to successfully do that. So as we go ahead and get started, before I actually jump into the presentation side of what I want to share, there's actually a short little clip from this video that I want to share. This video is by Simon Sinek. I don't know how many of you have seen it, but for me, this was very instrumental in how when I started my journey working out building products and just building in general, that helped me orient my thought process and how I looked at approaching problems and approaching solutions for the things that we built. This is a video specifically around leadership and inspiring action, all that sort of stuff. But I do feel it plays a critical role in setting the framework for how teams should think about actually building their products. So we'll just play a couple minutes of this video, and then we'll go ahead and
3.5 years ago, I made a discovery. And this discovery profoundly changed my view on how I thought the world worked, and it even profoundly changed the way in which I operate in it. As it turns out, there's a pattern. As it turns out, all the great and inspiring leaders and organizations in the world, whether it's Apple or Martin Luther King or the Wright brothers, they all think, act, and communicate the exact same way, and it's the complete opposite to everyone else. All I did was codify it. And it's probably the world's simplest idea. I call it the golden circle. Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP. But very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done, that's how most sales is done, and that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do, we say how we're different or how we're better, and we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. People don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. This explains why every single person in this room is perfectly comfortable buying a computer from Apple. But we're also perfectly comfortable buying an MP3 player from Apple.
All right, so as you can see there, what I'm trying to get across in this initially starting the presentation is focusing on the why. I think every great product starts with understanding and defining the why and being able to communicate that and pass that on to the end users that you have. Of course, how you get there and what we do to get there is what I'm going to kind of dive into a little bit here today. So what defines a world-class product? Essentially, what defines a world-class product are things around exceptional user experience. If you don't have a good user experience that somebody cares to use and somebody cares to enhance their life, enhance what they're trying to do, you're not going to get a lot of traction for what you're building. A great product also has very clear market fit and real value. At the end of the day, people want to use products that make their lives better. A great product is also very scalable and very performant, has great design that evokes trust and delight. And ultimately, at the end of the day, you need a product that people care to use. It has to be adopted. It's not just about what features you build and what you deliver, but how that product feels and performs. So let's go ahead and jump into what steps to kind of take to get there. Step one is obviously, as we saw even from the video, is obsessing over the problem. Understanding the why. What is the biggest issue that you are trying to solve in what you're building? A lot of people, especially early on in building products, focus on what their solution is. As you saw within that golden circle, a lot of people understand and start with the what. They understand what problem, what they're going to do to solve that solution. However, very few people focus on why. Why is that a problem in the first place? Why do we need to address this and make this better for our end users? A second thing around obsessing over the problem is doing real research, interviews, and understanding, is this just a problem that we're fabricating and coming up with for our own intuition or our own feeling towards a problem? The most important thing is making sure that at the end of the day, what you do build solves a problem for real users. This is where it's important to get out there, talk to people who may be users for your products, understand the pain that they deal with, and being able to create a solution that that solves that problem. So to the first point here, the biggest point that I want to try to get across here is fall in love with the problem. At the end of the day, if you solve someone's problem, that is a product that they'll continue coming back and using. Some of the things that I touched on here briefly as well is there's a lot of different tools and ways in which you can do this. There's frameworks for this from a product perspective, things like jobs to be done, understanding user personas, creating surveys, all that sort of stuff. So just highlighting a few of those here that you can use in defining and better defining and identifying the issue that you're trying to solve, the problem. The second step in building a successful and performant product is obviously prototyping fast and validating. Every idea that you come up with has to have a quick feedback loop in order to ensure that you're staying relevant and that you're on top of addressing the real problems that your users have. Many times, a lot of builders and a lot of product builders focus on building a grandiose product or solution that they feel will solve all their users' problems, many times losing sight of what the actual end user is trying to solve in the first place. By spending a ton of time on building a full suite or a fully flushed out product, is many times you don't get the real-time validation and the real-time feedback of understanding, do your users and do your end users really care about this problem? A big part in terms of being able to scale and flush out your prototype is ensuring that you use metrics in your decision making. And we'll see in one of the later slides, I talk a little bit about using data in making your decisions of building a successful product. But beyond that as well is use your intuition, use your gut, understand when you're seeing your end users engage and interact with your products, what makes them tick and what ways can you continue to evolve. The third step in building a world-class product is obviously design for simplicity, reduce friction, simplify the flows, and more often than not, less is more. Make sure that you're building a product that users have an easy time using. It makes their lives easier. A product that adds complexity to an end user's problem is probably not going to be very, very successful. And within this, a lot of times it's the micro interactions and the small details that go a long way. There are little things that you can do to your product that have a big impact that may not necessarily be apparent in the moment that you're building that out. You may think that it's a small nice to have, when in reality, those micro interactions have major impacts on the results that your product will produce. Then I think most importantly as well, when building any successful product, especially in the digital age, especially in Web3, I think more and more forward focusing and looking at how we evolve and build products that end users actually care to use is thinking mobile first. Obviously, with everything that you build and design, is make sure that it's responsive and can be used across multiple different applications, multiple different viewpoints, different applications and tools. But we see there's obviously a growing demand and desire to use products mobile native. When designing and using tools for designing your products and solutions, there's many tools that you can have. One of the biggest things that I think any good product should have in order to ensure that you can build a scalable product and build fast, iterate fast, is having some sort of framework for a design system. Have your core components, have your core design elements, simple things like identifying what your buttons look like, what your font is, what your color is, goes a long way in ensuring that you have a product that people care to use and is identifiable for your brand and what it is that you're building. Cool. Step 4, obviously the holy trinity of building a good product scales around design, tech, and product side of things where people care what they're using. Obviously on the tech side of it, ensure that what you're building is scalable, but don't stack tech debt. One big thing that early builders do is always identify that, hey, yeah, we'll take on this tech debt now and address it in the future. Many times, if you don't build the right foundations, it's really, really difficult to go back and redo the work that you should have done in the first place in order of establishing that foundation. And when it comes to tech and the tech that you build your product on. Obviously, within the hackathon point of view, or within the purview of building on Solana, we know that when it comes to blockchain, Solana is obviously the most performant blockchain, is probably in most cases, rather than not, the best solution in terms of blockchains that you want to use. But within that, there's obviously a lot of other tech considerations that you should have and take into account when building your products. Another important thing in ensuring that you're building a successful and like performant product in the future is making sure that when you're building out your solution, you're able to track and analyze how your product is performing and get the data that you need to make future decisions, to iterate, to change and enhance what it is that you're building. I think a lot of what you need to ensure when you're building your tech foundation is what your iteration and delivery model looks like, what your frameworks are for testing, and how you set up your entire tech stack. I would say probably there's a lot of people, especially from a developer perspective, if you're on this call, probably know this a lot better than I do. But you know the importance that ensuring having healthy code and a healthy tech platform or tech foundation goes, how far that goes into actually building a successful product. Step 5 is measure everything that matters. Most importantly, when building a product that people care about and people care to use, you have to have an understanding of what your users are doing and how they're engaging and interacting with your product. Some of the things that we briefly talked about in terms of building that product that you can look at is obviously when you're iterating and building out your proof of concepts and your MVPs or MP, minimum lovable products, MLPs, or whatever different people want to term them and call them. You obviously use a lot of like information and insights from actually observing, interacting, and getting feedback from end users. However, there's a lot of like tools and applications that you can use to integrate and enhance or integrate with your products that give you real data based on behaviors of what users are actually doing with your product. It's very important, I think, depending on what sort of products you're building, to understand what that user's journey is with interacting with that product. Where are the fall off or the drop off points? What's the amount of time that it takes the users to go through and interact, be it a sign up flow, be it a wallet connect, be it information that you need to take from them before they start getting real value out of your product. So that's the time to value that you want to measure and be able to track. In addition to that, NPS, for those of you that know, that's like net promoter. So essentially, ultimately, what is the likelihood that people who do use your products are actually going to recommend and refer their friends, families, people they know to also use your products? Very important, tangible data points that you use to make decisions in how you build and scale your products. There's a ton of different tools that you can use here to actually track that and integrate. Obviously, there's like mixed panel, amplitude, full story, etc. These are tools that you can see and track user behavior as they interact with your applications and products. So really, really great insights and data could be derived from those tools and that information that you can take in. Step 6 is obviously build not just for your users, but build with your users. I think some of the most successful products that we've seen even in Web3 is actually products that build and interact with their users on a daily basis, on a regular basis, to take their end users' feedback into account as they're building out their product. One of the best examples that I allude to a lot of times within Web3 and Solana specifically is when Tensor started out. When Tensor started out, they were obviously new. They were up against like Magic Eden and big competitors and stuff like that. But those early users who started using Tensor as a product initially did it because their voices were heard. Their feedback for the different features and interactions that they wanted to see within the platform were being built in real time. Richard was out there on Twitter, constantly interacting with the users, constantly providing feedback, constantly providing updates. Oh, this user recommended this feature. This is the update that we did. They ultimately, and some of the best products that you see, not only in Web3, but in Web2 in general, use their community and the feedback from their community to evolve and enhance the products that they're building. This is very, very important. In addition to that, obviously having a program or a structure set up where you can take your power users and have early release features and capabilities that you can get instantly interactable or instant feedback back from those users before scaling out and evolving those features and products. This leads to this idea of having product-led growth. When you have a product that you can iterate, build on in real time, and get actionable feedback and insights from your community, then you will know that you are really addressing the problems and the needs that your ultimate user has. However, there is an important caveat to be made to this point, is many times there could also be instances where your users may be asking for a product that they may feel is a solution to the problem that they have. However, it is on you as a builder to be able to decipher that and understand not only what is the solution that they're proposing to you to the problem that they have, but going back to the first point that we had is obsessing over the problem without focusing on what is the solution that they want to provide for you to build. Understand what is the problem that they have that they want you to address. And then you as the builder and the subject matter expert and the product expert on what it is that you're building, you can identify the best solution to solve that problem. So that is really, really important. And a huge part of building successful products is ensuring that along the way, you are engaging your community and engaging the different power users within your product to ensure that you're building something that is scalable and something that people care about and solves problems that they have. One of the other things as well with great world-class products is that they're never done. There is no finish line to building an amazing product. You're always shipping, you're always learning, and you're always iterating. It's very, very important that as you're building these products, you're keeping that in mind. There's no need to solve every problem at the start. Problems evolve, problems change. The different solutions that you have to solve those problems also change. And this is why it's super important to obviously prioritize how you're building their product. There will always be a multitude of features. There will always be a grand vision that you have towards what it is that you're trying to build with your product. But it's very important that you're able to prioritize the most important needs and the most important features and requirements within that product to be able to ensure that you're delivering in a model and enhancing a product in a way that is constantly driving value to the end users. If you wait too long and believe that you'll deliver a full-fledged solution, you'll find that you've spent months of work, a ton of money, and built a product that nobody cares about at the end of the day. It's important that you have an iterative process when you are building a product. Also, build a culture of experimentation. Don't be scared to try new things, especially when it comes to early stage or new products. New things give new insights, give new directions, and can allow you to also quickly pivot to find and address new solutions and new problems that your end users may have. There's a lot of value to be had and value to be given back from being able to experiment and incorporating that in how you build your products. Try out new, cool, and interesting features to see how your users engage and interact with that. See what opportunities it may unlock. Then one of the other things that I want to call out here in my journey of building products, there's this model came from Gibson Biddle, was one of the earliest product builders at Netflix. And it's this DHM model, as he termed it. Essentially, when you're building a product, the most important things or the ways that you build a successful product is build something that is delightful and easy to use for the end user. In order to make sure that you're building a moat around that product, build something that is hard to copy, something that makes you different from your competitors, and something that makes you different from everybody else out there who's trying to come and compete with what it is that you're building. And then obviously at the end of the day, with any product that you build, in order to be sustainable and have future long-term, is what are those revenue sources and different ways that these products enhance the ways that you can make money as a builder. Last point here goes to this idea that perfect is the enemy of progress. Always be evolving, always be changing. Don't wait until you believe and feel that you have the perfect solution and the perfect answer to any problem that you're solving. Constantly iterate and be building in an iterative manner. So to kind of sum that all up, these are the points that I want everybody to kind of take away from what I'm presenting here today in terms of what it takes to build a world-class product. First and most importantly is understand deep user problems. Focus on the problem. Don't necessarily be focused on the ultimate end solution. Understand your why. Understand why it's a problem in the first place. Understand why this needs to be solved. Understand why your user cares about this. Secondly, prototype and validate fast. The quicker you can get products and features to market, the quicker you can iterate and evolve your product. Focus on simplicity and joy. Make your product easy to use. At the end of the day, nobody wants to make their lives harder by using technology and using digital products. Build on scalable tech. Obviously, without a good technical foundation, it's really, really hard to build a successful product. Obsess over data. Engage with your users. Obsess over the data that comes in, and make sure that in addition to making data enhanced decisions, you are also using your intuition and your gut when building products. Then lastly, ship, learn, and repeat. It's not a one size fits all solution. There's no end goal line. There's always a next goal. There's always a new feature. There's always a new capability. There's always a new way to evolve your products. So always be building. Then final thoughts, build with purpose. This quote always stands out to me is people don't buy products, they buy better versions of themselves. The same could be said with people don't just buy products or don't use products for the sake of it. They use products that make their lives better. Make it useful, make it beautiful, and make it matter. And with that, that's the end of my presentation. I also have some resources here from product site. If you are interested, I can also share this deck out to those who want it. Maybe Fibbo or Simon, I'll connect with you after, can share it out if we want. A bunch of links here. Obviously, I have to shill here quickly. Build with MonkeDAO. So Build with MonkeDAO is builder grants and incubator accelerator type program as part of the MonkeDAO community. So if you are a new builder looking to get a grant and are early in your process, feel free to reach out. Let me know. We have an application open. You can qualify for some grants, which could potentially lead to future investment from the DAO. We also have an advisory and mentorship program as part of that. So yeah, that's me shilling Build with MonkeDAO. So yeah, do join that. Obviously, Superteam Canada has a ton of resources, as many of you know. Obviously, during the hackathon phase here, we have, or Simon Fibbo can probably speak to it more, but yeah, mentors, advisors, tap into the resources that the community can provide. Obviously, there's a lot of other things, specifically within Salon Incubator, Helios. Within the Web2 space, there's a lot of resources that you can tap into as well here in Canada that can help you scale and build successful products. Things like Communitech, Velocity, Mars, for those of you who are familiar. If you want product insights, stuff like that. Anyways, I won't go through this entire list, but there's a lot of resources there. If anyone has questions, feel free to reach out. And with that, that's me. I guess we can go to the comments or stuff like that, or I'll kind of
yes. Awesome. Thank you so much, Moon. That was an extremely insightful and concise presentation. I wanted to jump to a few questions that we had from the audience before I go through the resources that Superteam Canada has. Mind you, I will definitely be adding this slideshow and this full list of resources to the Superteam Canada resource doc and hackathon cheat sheet. So make sure to check that out. Thank you, Moon. I have included resources from some of these like Y Combinator and Mars Discovery. So I'm excited to add more. We had a question here. One challenge that I often face when pitching games is the framing of the problem statement. With games, sometimes you're not solving problems, you just see a gap in the market and an opportunity to build something fun for players to spend their time on. Should we always stick to the problem solution framework, even with games?
It's a very interesting item here with the games and entertainment in general, right? I think just because there isn't necessarily a specific problem per se, like people want to be entertained. So they want something that is delightful. So it may not be a problem in the sense that you're solving like a dire need or whatever, but there is a problem in the market though, where, or the problem that you're addressing, I guess could be framed differently, where it's like there's an opportunity in the market where you could produce a better entertainment solution with the game that you're building. It's probably going to be better than the alternative, which means that others probably have a quote unquote problem with the existing alternative solutions that are in the market. So that's kind of like, I guess, like a problem solution type framework, if you want to take it from that lens. I don't know if that helps too much. I haven't been too much in the gaming side of things. So, but I think the same mental model kind of still applies, where it's like you're trying to, I guess the problem that you're solving, or the problem that you would be solving, is the games that are out there today are probably not entertaining enough for you as it exists. So you want to build something that is better to solve that problem. The entertainment solutions are not meeting the expectations that you have. Could be a way to frame that.
Yeah. That's a great point. And I will add to that. I actually watched a video on this, a YouTube short recently about Diablo. And I would definitely recommend looking into the problem they're currently facing in terms of their game development and their conflicting target markets. It's pretty interesting. So if you're building a game, check that out. And I think you'll see that there is, in many ways, a problem that's being solved, or a pain point that's being alleviated, or an emotional gain, per se. And I'm referring a lot to the value proposition canvas right now, but the point is, I still think that there is some level of problem solution framework even with games. It just may not look the exact same as with traditional other types of tech platforms. Okay, more questions? We already applied to build with MonkeDAO. Is there someone we can reach out to check us out and give us feedback?
Yeah, so that is me. Sorry that there's been a delay. We've been going through kind of the entire program and everything like that. So do expect to hear back from me on anybody who has applied so far by the end of next week. So we are working through all of them, got an influx of a bunch of applications. And yes, we'll get back to everybody very, very shortly. Am I Canadian? Yes, I am Canadian. West Coast Canadian. Did also live in Toronto previously as well, so I've been around.
Society is in fact a Canada-based team, so they'll also be getting some support through the hackathon programming that we have. GM from Dubai. Wow, we've got quite an audience here. Simon, did you have anything you wanted to add at this stage?
No, I think Moon did a great job. Thanks, Moon. I don't see any other questions from the audience. If anybody does have any questions, post it in the X chat or the YouTube chat. We're streaming to both right now. We're keeping an eye on both chats. Let us know. And I guess I will just push the hackathon resources link that is available, superteamcan.notion.site. I'll drop it in the chat again. And I will probably pin it to the show. There we go. There's a bunch of great information for the hackathon participant in that. There's a lot of great cheat sheets and information and resources and links and guides, all kind of in that one link for you. They are secret. Oh God. Oh no. Delete. Abandoned mission. Okay. Well, that's it for me. I leaked too much information. But
no, it's okay. You're good.
Okay. Hey, Shani.
Hey, Shani. Do you mind if I present quickly just a couple of resources and recommendations?
Yes, of course. Go ahead.
Right before you do, while you're setting that up, we have one more question from L1, which I think is a very good topic. I can probably give some feedback on this. Moon, I'll let you have the shot first, though.
When do you know it's time to pivot? I would say it becomes pretty apparent when it's time to pivot, when you have you've built out a proof of concept, you've built out your MVP, and nobody cares to use it. I guess to put it bluntly, at the end of the day, well, actually, that's a little bit challenging because you may just have not reached or defined your target market really well yet. But I think after iterating a few times, after taking the opportunity to see what it is that you want to build, after you've talked, even if the users haven't used your product, but you've done around, you've gone out, talked to your friends and family, got their feedback on what the product is. If there isn't the traction and there isn't really a problem that you're solving within that, at that point, it should become pretty apparent that nobody cares about the problem that you're trying to solve.
Yeah, I think before you go there, Feb, I was talking to the Tensor team quite a bit the past couple months in their offices here in Toronto, because I was talking about like when did they learn to or know to pivot from Tensor to Vector, and I know they've talked about it a lot on their podcasts that they put out on various platforms before, but basically they had a really good product. They've had product market fit. They had the excellent NFT marketplace, but they saw kind of the writing on the wall for just general downtrend in NFTs and general uptrend in kind of trading and meme coin trading. So they actually started the like very, very basic early alpha testing of the Vector product to like 10 to 20 key inside people that were full meme coin degen traders, and they actually built out like the social aspect of the platform, which kind of gave them their like special niche market quite early on after a lot of feedback from those early degen traders. So like your question is like, when do you know it's time to pivot? I guess you won't know for sure. Like they took a huge risk, not risk, but like it's a pretty big pivot to go from like an NFT marketplace to a social meme coin trading app, token trading app. And I think they did a really, really good job at kind of shifting their focus, and they still kind of manage both projects. I'm personally pretty excited to see what they kind of cook up next. Hopefully we'll get some more information on that soon. But back to you, Fib. I see you got the resources. The Luma calendar actually pulled up. I'll drop the link to that in the chat if you want to talk about it.
Thank you.
One thing, sorry, if I could just jump in on the Tensor point. I think it's very important on the pivot question is identifying where you are within your product journey, your product life cycle, right? If you're really, really early stage and you have a product idea, when you pivot is a little bit different when you're already in the market, you've gained traction. I think an important part of to the point of understanding when to pivot is using data-driven insights in order to define that. I think, as Simon alluded to, the Tensor team kind of started identifying their volumes were falling off. They started talking to people. We saw a pretty drastic shift in the market of attention pivoting from NFTs to meme coins. So that was more of a market-driven shift beyond the actual product driven shift, if that makes sense. Like it wasn't that their product got any worse and they had to pivot Tensor as a product. It was a market driven shift from NFTs to a new market in meme coins. So I think depending where you are in your life cycle of your product, understanding when and how to pivot is kind of may be determined in different ways. Sorry, I just wanted to interject there.
Yeah, no, that's great. I think that's a great answer, and I will add to that by saying that as you're in that life cycle, you need to be always testing hypotheses. And often, I think one of the things that happened in my journey is that one of my hypotheses that was originally correct shifted drastically because the market shifted drastically. Meaning suddenly we had COVID and everyone's behavior changed. And that can happen here with market cycles. But I think going back and retesting your hypotheses There's an article here which you can find in the hackathon resources about the customer discovery process and really testing and verifying your product concepts. Going back and retesting is important because things do change, and that's why it's so important to build lean and stay lean, because suddenly something you have may no longer be relevant. I think there's a really great article on this in Y Combinator, Build Things That Don't Scale. You've probably heard of it, but yeah, definitely go back and retest. I will now jump into hackathon resources. These are the secret resources for Canadian-based teams, but you're getting a sneak peek at this, whether you're in Canada or not. Welcome. So we've got the featured events. There's an upcoming event on Friday, which will be another workshop. This one will center around product market fit, really building on the concepts that we had today and delving more into that market. And I'm sure they'll cover more about the question on pivots as well. Because your product market fit, I think, is always evolving to an extent. We also have the Startup Village, May 1st to 16th in Toronto, which is very exciting, and we'll have hackathon programming during that as well. Thanks, everyone, for coming out. You can see here I have resources from Canadian accelerators and incubators. I've grouped them by stage, like startup stage, as well as like the overall category of what you're trying to do. So getting started, product, and then of course everything is a bit related back to product, but differentiating, positioning, growth, pitching. And then we have templates for demoing and what the past winners did to win the hackathon in terms of their videos. You can actually go and watch that, which is pretty cool. And then we have the cheat sheet, and I want to just quickly go over some do's and not do's. You want to start building validation early on, and that really ties back into this workshop, which is getting that ongoing feedback and implementing it, testing those hypotheses. I think Moon really did a great job of explaining all of these concepts, but this is very important in terms of what to do, what not to do. And one of the big things that we say is just start building a Telegram group with your initial users, or if you haven't built the product yet, people who are interested in using the product. Get daily feedback from them. Test your hypotheses, your assumptions. Thank you, Simon, for sharing the link. And yeah, anyways, I'm not going to go too much into this because I did last time, but you can also find all of the upcoming Superteam Canada workshops on the Superteam Canada calendar. You can subscribe to the calendar in order to get notified. You can filter by the type. So hackathon workshops will have a tag that you can click to filter and find. And wow, I don't know. I actually just don't have too much to add because Moon absolutely killed it with his workshop. Thank you so much, Moon. Please join us on Friday. We have a workshop for product market fit. As I mentioned, it'll be live at the Toronto Build Station or the Toronto Vibe Station, but we'll also be streaming it online with multi-chain advisors. All right, Simon, Moon, did you want to add anything to close us out?
No, thanks everybody for coming. We got a bunch of these lined up, so definitely be sure to keep an eye on our Twitter and our Telegram chats. Basically, the number one place we do most communication is the Solana Canada Telegram chat or on Twitter. We also have a LinkedIn. If you're kind of old school like that, you could find us on LinkedIn if you'd like to. All of this is available on the Superteam.ca website, and look at that countdown up to start a village. It's looking pretty close. 7 days, 2 hours and 45 minutes. Thank you, Moon, for coming. Moon, when do you get here? What day are you coming out? You coming out to Toronto?
I'll be there for the second week.
Nice. Okay, well, I hope to see everybody there. Come say hello, sign up, and register. Hopefully you get approved, and we can build together. That's it for me. You can close us out there, Fib.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a great night. See you Friday.
Thank you.